Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Badass Confidence Coach. Okay, today we're talking about loneliness. And we've talked about loneliness before on the podcast. I think it was one of the first episodes I did 6 years ago because loneliness is really quite the epidemic, or should I say pandemic, a worldwide issue for people. And I wanted this to be a podcast for people to know that they're not alone and for me to pay it forward because it was such a problem. And that was back in 2019. So that was 7 years ago, I started recording for the podcast. And we're talking about it again because there's nuance to these episodes. And this is a little bit more of a nuanced episode about loneliness. So today we're going to talk about the hidden loneliness of competent adults. So competent, you're all competent if you're listening or watching this podcast. And this is something that I see it in the privacy of my office or the privacy of my sessions with my clients. And many of you on the outside may also feel what I'm going to get into. You may also feel this way, or you around people who are lonely and you have no idea. So we're going to talk about, if this is you, how to deal with it, how to cope with it, how to make changes in your life. Okay.
It would be an interesting listen to go back to that 19 episode, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's pre-C19, right?
Well, those were all interviews. I probably interviewed somebody about loneliness, and I don't remember. I'm not going to pull it up right now. But the first 2 years were all me interviewing people. It was we switched to this, I think, in 21, 22, which is a much better format. And why did we switch to interviews? Let's answer that question if anybody's wondering.
Well, I think it's two reasons. One, we
switched away from interviews.
It's been a bit of a challenge to find somebody that's got a really compelling story, right? I think you got to really sift through a lot of opportunities before you find the right story to interview.
Right.
And two, I think that we landed on this dynamic that we have where we can kind of get into the weeds of talking about a certain subject and different opinions, different perspectives.
We've gotten great feedback about our dynamic as podcast hosts and talking about clinical issues, psychological coaching issues, but also talking about the real stuff in life. You and I are just everyday real people that so many of you understand, and what we say may resonate for you. We've heard that. We've gotten that great feedback.
Right.
And then also, this is sort of like inside baseball for podcasting. We get pitches every day, all day long. And most of them are from the public relations, podcast pitching companies. I'm not knocking them, but I think a lot of them don't really know who we are. And Blake, who we work with, or sometimes you will look at them. I don't look at them that much anymore, the pitches that come in, not in the beginning. It goes through you all before it comes to me. Many of them are copy and paste emails. Like they don't even know. That's what's happening is many people don't even know. They've never listened to my podcast. They just want to come on and they're all selling something.
Yeah.
And many of them are in the same field as me and they don't necessarily know more than me. And that's why we want them to have a wonderful story. So we struggle with that a little bit right now.
Yeah. We're on a list, as is everybody. You know what I mean? It's a shotgun approach of like, if I shoot out 1,000 asks and if I get back 3, I feel really good about that as the person that's searching, you know.
And you have to remember, I think many of you, if you want to get on podcasts, if you're listening right now, podcast hosts, and I'm sorry if you're a podcast promoter, it's hard for us because we get so many and it just feels disingenuous. It just feels like you're a podcaster. The person who wants to be the podcast guest is paying you to get your client on, let's say, my podcast. And we see that. You can feel that through the email. You see it.
Yeah.
And then we send them the application and nobody goes, they don't, which I kind of love. Most people don't complete the entire application because we ask them pointed questions. We want to say yes to you.
Yeah.
We want to say yes to you, but you have to come on. You have to remember, for my audience, for all of you who are watching and listening, I want something for you. I want something that's going to light you up or make you think in a different way. Something that's different from Anna. You all want to hear and see someone who's like, oh, okay, Anna doesn't talk about that. Right. That's not my jam. That's not my specialty. That's not my field. Come on. And I would love to hear your insights and share your knowledge with us. Those are the people I'm really looking at. And we don't get a lot of those.
We don't, but they are out there.
They're out there.
I think there are wonderful stories out there.
Well, I have a couple people coming on. One's an attorney, and we're going to talk about family law. And there's so many different areas where we're thinking about going into with family law. Oh my gosh, there's so much we can talk about. Well, I have somebody else in the world of menopause. I'm having people come on, but it's just really very different from me. And I have to be interested too, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Totally.
All right. So let's get back to the topic today. So loneliness. I see this all the time. And I always, when I'm having thoughts about who I want to have or what I want to talk about for the podcast, I look to my real life conversations. I look to my real life client conversations with friends, family. And this is something I see in the privacy of my office. People are lonely, but you wouldn't necessarily know it because most of these people, they are the most competent person in the room. They're the one who is sort of holding everything together. They're the business owners, they're the CEOs, or they're just the people they're the managers, and they do very well for themselves in work and how they show up and how they look to others. They're the person who always sort of has it all handled. And yet these are the people who often really feel unseen. They're the people who they just feel disconnected, and quietly inside themselves, they're very alone. People don't really know them. And this is bigger than I think most of us realize, because we're all so caught up on our own lives that we often don't take the time, and not that we ought to or should with everybody, especially we work with, but your friends and your family members, I think it's important to take the time to check in with people, right? It's not these people, they have people in their lives. Like most of us, we have people in our lives, but we just don't always feel seen. They don't always feel seen. I mean, really,
So you're looking at both their worlds. You're looking at like their professional world where it seems like they're buttoned up. They've got everything. They're great at what they do. And then there's their personal world.
Right. And we're going to talk about the appropriateness of this in the workplace, because some of this is you can be lonely in the workplace. We'll talk about who you share with and who you not share with, like learning how to read the room in your work life. But for that person who's lonely, what I'm saying is that in their whole life, they come to me and they show up as these certain individuals who've got their shit together, and they talk about this loneliness and no one really sees them. And at work, some people really shouldn't see you because you're there to work.
Right.
But you have these relationships. We usually have somebody at work that we are close to, that we will have a drink with, that we will meet for coffee, and how I'm still not feeling seen. This is mostly in our personal lives.
Okay.
And we call it high functioning loneliness, right? Because, they're the people who are capable. They're the people who are reliable. You know who I'm talking about, but maybe you've built a life where you're needed by other people. And maybe if you're the lonely person, you sort of like that you're the one who's needed, but you're not really known to others. So it can go both ways. Maybe you don't make yourself known to others and you don't know how to do it, so people don't know you. And then maybe you're on the other side of, they're just the person who always looks like they have it together. I've never thought to ask them how they're doing. They always seem like they're fine.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of wrinkles in this one for me.
Okay.
I'm thinking on the business side, but I'm sure we'll get into it. We'll just see where it goes.
Let's get into a little bit of statistics before we go further. Okay. Just to sort of ground all of us in this topic right now. So here's the reality. Why does it matter right now that I'm even talking about this? Well, around 40% of United States, U.S. adults report feeling lonely. 40%. Roughly 1 in 5 people feel lonely every single day. They report feeling lonely every single day. That's 1 in 5 people. More than half of adults say they feel isolated or lack meaningful connection in their lives. We're working, we're on our phones, we are in our social media, we're in our games, we're lacking meaningful connection. Half of adults say this. That's huge to me. I think it's huge. And here's what doesn't get talked about enough, right? High functioning midlife adults are among the most affected. High functioning midlife adults are among the most affected. I think the most affected are probably the elderly who are maybe living alone, or they're in nursing homes. And even nursing homes will try to get you out and have you being social, and they have recreational therapists who try to get you out. But there's a loneliness of living inside yourself. When you're older, you can have neurocognitive declines. You can still be in a room of people with somebody trying to get everybody to get up and dance and sing to some old songs from the 50s and 60s. It doesn't mean that you don't feel lonely. You can be living alone and your kids are all gone and no one visits you anymore. No one checks on you, of course. there's loneliness there. And I would sort of expect that, which is heartbreaking for me to think about. What I was surprised by when I was looking up the statistics on this is the high functioning midlife adults are in that category of being some of the most affected by the sense of loneliness, right? Because of the people who look the most together, who are the most emotionally alone.
Right.
Who would have thunk it?
Right. I mean, if you're looking from an exterior lens, right?
Right.
You'd never guess.
So why do competent people feel this way? Why do they feel this way? Why are they saying these things? Because they would say to me, I've heard this so many times, well, I'm the strong one, Anna, because I'm the strong one, right? I'm the capable one. People lean on me. What happens is over time, when they're viewed, they're sort of put like on this pedestal. They're viewed as the strong one, the capable one, and they stop sharing their struggles with other people. And they look, well, I don't want to burden anybody. I don't want to talk about what's going on for me. I have to deal with all of them and what they're dealing with, whether it be a work issue or a private life issue, and they can become the emotional container for everybody around them. I certainly have had bosses. I have one boss. I think back to one of my first jobs at a grad school, and I think she was the emotional container. Well, I know she was the emotional container for everybody in our department. We had a large department, a big hospital in the city. And I often wondered, who does she talk to? Who does she go to? Because everybody is pouring their stuff out and their stresses with their different departments, floors are working on to her, right? And slowly what happens is you can start to disappear sort of inside your own life, right? So the strong one, that's definitely a label that they have taken on. Part of them really likes it. And in that label that they have found themselves, they find, oh, geez, who do I talk to? Who's there for me?
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, at some point, that's got to turn into their downfall in a way, right?
Right, exactly.
It's crash and burn at some point, even though you're on one end of the perspective all the time. At some point, you're going to be on the opposite end, which is tragedy in that world.
They also get rewarded for being self-sufficient. You know what I mean? And people, they may reinforce it themselves. People also reinforce it to them. Like, you're so strong. You always have it handled. You've got this. You always have. And in a way, you kind of like it. You like that idea that people have of you, right? So what does that person do, right? They stop needing help. I got this, right? I do have this. I can handle this. I can do all this by myself. I can manage all these people. I can manage this household. I do it all. I manage all these little kids running around. I can manage the diapers, the bottles, and my job, and getting dinner on the table, getting organized. I got it. I can manage who we're seeing this weekend, who we're going out with. I could do it getting so-and-so Joey to T-ball Saturday at 10 a.m. I got it. So you get used to not needing help from others. And you think to yourself, and I know I've thought this, it's easier if I do it myself. It's a lot easier if I just do it all myself. And they can kind of get you a little bit out of my head. I know I'm doing this alone. Well,
there's safety in that choice.
There is. And there's control in that choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
And you will see over time how that choice can come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
Right. And for these individuals, relationships become functional, not emotional. So I think of this more at work, where you talk more about your schedule. You talk about or the schedule for the team, or the schedule at work this week. You talk about logistics and responsibilities, right? There certainly is no discussion of fear, especially in the workplace. But you see it in people's personal lives. They don't talk about their fears or their misgivings, maybe their doubts. What they're not talking about is what's really going on inside of them, especially for women with a mental load. They're not talking about that. You're in all these relationships. You have all these relationships in your life. You have so many relationships, right? But you're not emotionally inside of them. You're not inside of these relationships emotionally. Like we're going to talk about a little bit more. I mean, work, there's appropriateness and there's inappropriateness of that. But you know what I'm talking about. Emotionally, maybe you've got one or two people at work you would like to be a little bit more connected to. And your personal life, your spouse, your partner, your kids, your mom, your dad, your siblings, your neighbors, the people who live down the street from you in your condo building, down the hall from you, that you do, the people you say hello to. There's all these surfacey, hi, good morning, talking to the doorman. Okay, that's fine. That's appropriate. But not really getting to know people and letting people know you.
Yeah.
You feel unseen. You feel like you're invisible.
Yeah.
You're in these relationships, but you're not emotionally inside of them. Go ahead, baby.
No, I'm still thinking about the twist of the work environment.
Because you always think from a work.
Yeah, I think that first, just because I think it's great perspective. But keep going. Okay. It's going to come up. It's going to surface here in a second.
It will.
Sure.
It's going to. Right. False connections. So we have all these false connections, and they do replace real connection in our lives, right? And we do live this way. We live like this. We're texting. We're scrolling. We're responding, right? But we're not. What happens? And this is so much a problem. And I think it's a problem. I'm saying it's a problem today. We're not sitting with someone. We're not sitting across from another person. We're not being seen. We are not being known to other people, right? So we're consuming all these connections. And I'm guilty of it too, but thank God I've got these relationships in my real life. I'm consuming connection. People DM me memes all day. I woke up this morning to 2 at 6 a.m. to 2 from a friend. Actually, I think it was more than that because there's more than that because the girls sent me something, my friends. Those are connections, but I'm consuming something from them. That's different than from sitting across.
That's a good point.
Yeah. It's different from sitting across the table from Sue or Jessica and having a cup of coffee with them like later this morning. That's what I'm talking about. You can consume their memes and their texts, the family chats, but when are you really sitting, making eye contact, saying, how are you? No, how are you really? What's going on?
Yeah.
What have you been up to lately in your life? How's work? How are the kids? Hey, how's your mom doing? I remember you talking about your mom. Like, that is what I'm talking about, right? We're not experiencing each other.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. That's why I think like spending time, like going on road trips, spending a weekend with your friends, it's so important just sitting quietly, having a cup of coffee with one another, and then just seeing what comes up. Like our girlfriend, our very good friends it's a wonderful gift. They have a lake house in Wisconsin, and we go there often in the summers. We were actually just there a month ago. And that's a gift that they have given us. Everybody wakes up in the morning and no one's talking. Everyone just gets their cup of coffee and just sits and stares at the lake. But there's something about the quietness of being together, and we're each in our own thoughts. And as the morning goes by, we start to wake up. We are all sitting there talking with each other.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
True. Super true.
And I am so appreciative of it.
Yeah.
Because we've lost that. Well, we get to be with our friends. And you and I do it in our home. And if there are kids here, we'll do it in the morning with our kids. But most days we don't do that. And we get caught up on our work lives. You're out the door. I'm out the door. There's things we're doing. And you and I can even be like two ships in the night. We haven't really connected. Sometimes it's like days go by and it's like, we've just talked about you doing this or you doing that. What's with that? What's happening this weekend? What time are you going to be home from work? Okay. And we don't even really talk. So it happens. And we have in good relationships.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So many people don't have that.
So a couple questions. I mean, is it bad analysis to give the credibility to these electronic relationships, like these electronic moments? Like, do we give that too much credit at being real? Like, is that, I think
you can answer that. You can answer your own question.
Right. But I'm just.
Is that a rhetorical question?
Kind of. Yeah. But I think you have to say it out loud too. I think because we spend so much time and we get these conversations going back and forth, but they're not really real. Half the time, some of the stuff that you tell me this or that, and it's like, you're not even talking to a person that you actually know, right? There's this interaction whether it's on a platform, a different platform, and there's a conversation that goes back and forth, and it's a person you've never even met, but you give tremendous value to that, right?
There's the parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
We call them parasocial, right?
Is it because that's of when we live that's such a thing? And then the second question is, I mean, there's a whole generation that's the actual norm. Like they don't know the opposite of that. That's how it goes.
Well, they're not stretching themselves. You have to stretch yourself. You kind of get down this rabbit hole. You kind of get sucked into this vortex of these parasocial relationships because everybody's at home a lot more than they used to be. I think COVID is really responsible for that. But a lot of people are home more. People aren't going out as much. I've noticed it.
Yeah.
Like we don't go out to dinner as much. COVID really did do a number on us. Also with the economy, people can't afford it. Prices of everything have gone up. Restaurants, getting a glass of wine, you're like, whoa, I can go to around here, Chicago, like I could go to Binny's or our local, like Garfield's, our wine store, or liquor store, and get myself a really nice bottle of Chardonnay and come home and drink it here, and sit on my porch or sit on my deck or sit on my, whatever, you know what I mean? Like sit on my balcony. But yes, it's true. And you and I say this all the time. Yeah. The problem is, unless you're having people over, it's not what it was pre-2020, back in 2016, 17. You know what I mean? When we were going out to dinner more. And that has really affected our mental health. It still is affecting our mental health, and it's 2026 now.
Well, I think that's also on us as humans. I think we are choosing to embrace that. I mean, we don't have to do that now.
But, I'm not going to say but, I'm going to say and. People are really being affected by the economy. People can't spend the money globally that they used to maybe be able to. And people are more, so it's also like, I've gotten used to being at home. So there is a comfort. Like I always say, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And we've gotten really comfortable being at home in our sweats, in our comfy clothes with no makeup on, having a glass of wine, rather than get dressed, get changed, put on some makeup, or change your shirt, dude. Put on a nice shirt, put on a pair of jeans, and go to the bar, go to the restaurant, or join a basketball league, go play pickleball. And pickleball, I think, has been really wonderful for, at least in North America, because it's getting people, what I'm saying, out of the house and connecting with each other. Pickleball has been wonderful. And there's some people for this conversation, you're like, no, that's never been me. That's wonderful if that's you. There's quite a bit of this globally right now. And I think the economy is a really big piece of it. People are like gasping at the grocery store, like, what?
Yeah.
Is that how much chicken costs now?
It's kind of crazy.
Give me a break. It is.
Yeah.
And even you and I have been like, what? This is what it costs for a glass of wine? I mean, we're lucky that we can still afford it, but I still notice the prices.
Sure.
I'm like, oh my gosh. And you're like, I can make a better espresso martini. I can make you a better espresso martini at home than they make here. Especially, and you get annoyed. You're like, this drink sucks. And you're like, and how much was it?
Well, thank you, C19, for giving us the opportunity to even realize that.
What's C19?
COVID. Thank you for allowing us to isolate us for a hot minute, right? To discover some skills that we didn't know we had, probably.
You learned how to be a mixologist.
1,000%.
Tim actually makes great drinks, and people come over and they're like, what drink are you making tonight? Because he'll make like a signature cocktail.
But I never did that before COVID.
You never did.
Right?
People love it.
There definitely were some positive things coming out of it, for sure.
Yeah, you've really gotten into, you make good drinks. Okay.
So here,
go ahead. All right.
I think this would be a tremendous exercise, a beneficial exercise. Like, I think if you take, and you and I could do it, and we can come back and talk about it next time or whatever. So take your circle, like your friend circle, your whatever, however you want to define it, the people that you interact with consistently, right? So there'll be a few work people in there. There's going to be some family. There's going to be a bunch of friends. What did that circle look like in 2018, 2019? And compare it to what that circle looks like today. Right? Like you and I right now, you probably have about 12 faces in your head right now. And you're thinking about, shoot, we don't hang with that person, that couple, those three, like, right? Like that circle has gotten so stinking small at this point, right? Just because it has.
I think I don't think it's just COVID. I think it's, I
don't think it's COVID either.
Yeah, I think we're in different times in our lives. I think people, for us, which I'm not surprised by it. I just, there's some things you don't know until you're in it. Like I didn't know that perimenopause and menopause was going to affect me the way it did. Our mothers didn't talk about it. My mother didn't have bad symptoms of menopause. I remember her having hot flashes, and we would laugh about it. I was in college, and she'd be like, oh my God. And my mother was this very quiet, introverted, very just really sort of the opposite personality of mine. She used to always say to me, Anna, act like a lady. Act like a lady. Stop being so loud. Act like a lady. Because like, well, Mom, I don't want to act like a lady. I was more like my dad. But I remember when she would have these hot flashes. This is just an example of times changing. And she'd be like, oh my God, I want to take my clothes off. We'd be like, Mom, stop it. You're in a restaurant. You're being really embarrassing. And that was the only thing I ever remember my mom talking about with menopause. We're talking about it so much today, which is wonderful. And now finally there's new research and studies going on because us women, the Gen Xers, probably maybe the early baby boomers are speaking about it more. That's something we never really spoke about until now. Something I never thought about what happened at this time in our lives or my life is you don't think about it till you're in it. kids going off to college and how it changes female friendships. And I think it changes couple friendships. I never knew what it would be like, but when your kids go off to college, your kids are out of college, your life really does change, because when you're in high school, you see those parents all the time, like at dance, at theater, at sporting events. You see the same parents because, you know, you get to be friends with them because your son's on the football team or on the soccer team. You see them every Tuesday at 5 o'clock when you're showing up with your blanket and your chairs. You know, you're sitting with these people.
Yeah.
How many times a week? And then you see them the next year. Then you get a new set of friends. If you've got a daughter who's in dance, and you become friends, or you're friendly. And that does help your social life. It does help you be social. You can still, this whole episode though is about being around that and feeling lonely, but you have more access to people because you can be in a sea of people. This is what this episode's about, and feel totally lonely. But when you're sort of air quote forced to attend your kids' events, you see the same people. And when you're shooting the breeze and sitting on the sidelines, you can get to know one or two moms, one or two dads. And maybe someone says, hey, let's all go out for pizza after. And you really like a certain mom. Hey, do you want to go out on Thursday night? That's how friendships form. You got to ask, but that's how friendships form. When your kids now are in college, that's gone. And I did notice that when the kids left for college. It's gone. You're never at that high school again. You're never at a soccer field again. You're never at a football field. You're never going into a theater again, the high school theater. Those are gone, and they're gone overnight. It's like, where are all those people? We don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody's back at work. Everyone's doing their thing. You don't see them. I might see them in the grocery store. And it was interesting how, wow, I guess we weren't really friends because I have all their numbers. I text them. We're not texting each other anymore.
Right.
And then 4 years later, the kids are gone. It just changes dramatically. And like menopause, no one prepared me for that. Then you're like, oh, okay, I can't rely on my friends, my kids and the parents of the sports or whatever the activities, extracurricular activities. Who am I friends with now? And that, I think, is these competent. So now you're in midlife. Now you might be working a little bit more because you're out of the diapers, you're out of the grade school, you're out of all that. And many of us are still working. And many of us now are moving up the ranks and into middle management, out of middle management. Maybe you're the head of a department. Maybe you're starting your own business. You're working your butt off starting your own business as an entrepreneur. What I'm seeing is that people our age are busier than ever. And we can't retire because unless you're like the 1 or 2%, many people can't retire. You can't even think about it. You got to make that money. They finally, and you've got disposable income. So you can spend money, you can travel, you can do the things. But these people are lonely. The kids are gone. They no longer are seeing these parents anymore, and they're working these crazy hours. And there's a loneliness there with that.
Sure. And then you add electronic conversations on top of all of that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And the only interaction you have at that point, maybe like 98% of it is that the only interaction you have is through your social media, through your texting, through your whatever it is. All of a sudden, the interaction with like your close friends, some of your maybe second, third, fourth cousins, whatever it is, all of a sudden, that's all that is, or most of it is just that, electronic conversations. Right. There you go. You just painted an interesting picture.
Okay. So, yeah. And I'm going to say one more thing before we go on. For many people, independence, when you're an independent person, and I see this more with people who would say they're more of introverts or maybe more introverts, some people who are ambiverts. Ambiverts is the middle. I don't see this as much with extroverts. A lot of people would say, I'm fine on my own. Introverts say this, I'm fine being alone. I want to be alone. I enjoy it. I can't spend that much time around all people because your wiring is more towards introversion. But it can, for some people, turn into like, well, I don't want to risk being vulnerable. It was hard enough for me. I did make friends when my kids were in high school. And I did make those friends because I saw it was like rinse and repeat. I saw them every Tuesday and Thursday for soccer games. And then we all went out for pizza after. And that was hard for me. And because I was with them all the time, I became friends. But now that's all gone. It's hard for me to risk the vulnerability in me because I'm an introvert and I'd rather just be by myself. So what happens is you'd rather stay uncomfortable. Like you don't really want to make that effort. It was hard for you then. So you're like, no, I'm going back to how I naturally am, an introvert or an ambivert. But what happens is you're getting disconnected again. You don't want to, you'd rather be like, no, I'm not uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable being alone. But you have to be careful with that if you're more of an introvert and sometimes into the ambivert. Ambivert is the middle. There's introversion, there's extroversion, and ambiverts are in the middle. You just have to be careful with that you're getting disconnected from people. And some people say, I'm fine with disconnection, and I'm an introvert and I don't really want to be around all these people. That's fine. If you are fine with it, I'm not talking to you right now.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who is, well, yeah, I am an introvert, but I need some social connection. I am lonely. I don't feel like people know who I am. I'm spending too much time by myself. I like to be alone, but this is too much. Yeah.
Right.
You're disconnected.
And COVID made it even more fine, right?
Yeah.
And then what else is I going to say to you? It'll come back to me.
I think this is a lot of the people that I've seen over the years and I see now. This is a lot of my clients. The question really comes down to, does anybody really know me? Who really knows me? And that is such a lonely question and an important one to ask. Who really knows me?
Yeah.
So ask yourself that question. I mean, who really knows me in my life? Who am I really connected to? Who sees me? Who knows me? Who really sees me?
Yeah.
Like when they see me, like, how are you? No, how are you? How are you really?
Right.
Come on. Like, let's talk.
Yeah.
Like, who do you have in your life that you're doing that with?
Right. That reminds me of what I was going to say. So remember, we used to have friends that we would get together with. It's almost like you needed to have your fix with these people, right? You needed a fix of this person or that person or this couple or that couple, right? And for the most part, not all the time, but a lot of that stuff is kind of faded. Right?
Yeah, because people got weird.
Okay.
I think I know who you're talking about. I think it's got weird. People got weird.
Deflect that one. Nice. No, but I mean,
no. Some people started. Look, one person talked about themselves all the time, and everyone's like, "Don't care. You're talking too much about yourself." I am totally digressing, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I wasn't even a whole other conversation.
It is, but I wasn't even thinking about anyone in particular when I brought this up. The point though is I was okay. I think that now you can get an electronic air quote fix of that person. You'll have a texting moment or a back and forth.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So
we do that.
Right. Which means zero interaction face to face. Right?
Yeah.
Just fully support what we're talking about. So then all of a sudden, the moments of not being lonely because you had like, oh, we see you once a quarter, we see you every second month or whatever it is. If that goes down to nothing, it just goes down to some electronic communication back and forth. Like it just supports what we're talking about today. Right. Yeah. It's just that's where that circle got smaller and smaller and smaller.
Well, the thing about that circle that we used to have, I mean, we're going back 20 years, 15 years, and that circle was really all about triathlon. Are you talking about that group?
Well, there's that group, sure.
Those are all those couples, and that was all when people were first starting triathlon, you were their coach.
Yeah.
And that was a wonderful group. And it's interesting, there was always one or two spouses who were like, oh, you guys are so annoying because they weren't triathletes. And I don't blame them. Everybody was so excited about their new sport, and they were on fire for training and racing and all their new friends. And then their spouses, they dragged their spouses toward these dinners at people's houses. And there was always someone who was like rolling their eyes, like, can you guys please stop talking about swimming and biking and running?
Right.
So sick of it. And looking back, I don't blame them. They were triathletes. Like, can you imagine being around people? All they talked about was like, what kind of swim goggles you were buying and where did you go buy your wetsuit and what's your bike like? What kind of bike what are you looking at? Like, I'm getting a Cervelo, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It is a little annoying when being around people who are like obsessed with their sport.
Of course.
But that was but I throw them grace. And they still came and they still hung out with us, and that was a great group of people.
Yeah.
As the years went by, the group dwindled down, but we still had a core group. And then there was one person where it changed, where they were talking about themselves all the time and everybody started to notice it. And it kind of splintered a little bit. But the wonderful thing is that there's a core group of us that still are getting together, and they're our best friends.
Sure.
They're like family to us. But even with them, I have to, like, if we're going out, I still have to text them. Are we going? I have to remind them. Like, are we going?
Right.
Are we going? Because I said to them, no. Well, they're like my sisters. I'm like, you're not flaking on me. You're not flaking. Because I know they kind of want to flake because it's Thursday and they don't want to go out or something. I'm like, no, you're not flaking.
Well,
you're going to this with me.
Yeah, because time has allowed that. You've been empowered
gotten used to flaking on each other.
Yes. Think about the old neighborhood we lived in.
Oh yeah.
Like the get-togethers. Those were all face-to-face moments, and there'd be hundreds of those. And that's
all it was.
It is shrunk so much. It's down to like we still have friends, but there's
only one couple
that we actually consistently hang with. So
a lot of people moved out of that neighborhood.
They did, but not everybody. It's just interesting how all of that stuff has gotten smaller and smaller.
If you have a neighborhood, if you have a great neighborhood like we had, take advantage of it, appreciate it. If you've got a neighborhood, if you've got people like down your hallway in your condo building that you see, like wherever you are in the world, appreciate it and know that it's a gift, because we had that many years ago. We don't have that now. We like our neighbors, we do like our neighbors, but we don't have that. We've got a lot of neighbors. That's fine. People are people. They keep to themselves. They're not social. And we've got some people right here that we are friends with. And now that we're in Chicago in spring and summer, we see each other a lot more. Sure. And we're much more social. The winter months around here, everybody it's so cold. You just run in your house when you get out of your car, or you drive your car in your driveway and that's it. The door goes down and you don't see other people. But if you've got that neighborhood and usually you see it around small children where you're friendly with each other, you become friends. I want you to appreciate that because it's really special. Okay. We got to go further.
So can I give the first power move today?
Yeah, but when we get there. Let me just finish this up.
I hope I don't forget.
Okay, because I want to talk about the neuroscience of this. So why does it hurt so much? Why is it hard to feel lonely? You have this feeling, and it's a cavernous feeling inside ourselves because it's not just though you're feeling. It's not just emotional. It is neurological. So, I want to back this up just a little bit. When you feel disconnected from people in the world around you, their brain can read it as you're not safe. I'm not safe. We are not safe, right? And this is why I'm not a neuroscientist, so I'm just going to talk very briefly about this. This is why loneliness is so strongly connected to anxiety and depression and burnout. So this is not like some soft issue. This is not a soft issue today we're talking about. Well, none of them are. This is a nervous system issue. It's legit. It's real. There's something going on neurologically in your brain, right? So if you're feeling lonely, it would not surprise me, and it doesn't surprise me when for my therapy clients, we go right into, I'm sort of evaluating for anxiety and depression. Loneliness is a symptom of depression. So this is legit, okay? So take it seriously, okay? So the trap, though, of midlife adults and these competent women I see who are lonely, there's this trap of competence, right? So the more competent that you are, here's the thing, the less people check on you. When you look on like this really competent person, people aren't really checking on you. And the more you tell yourself, like, I should be able to handle this. I should be able to handle all this in my life. What happens is if you are that competent person who's feeling lonely, what you might do is you might perform instead of connecting with the people around you. You're more performative. You start to focus on achievement, more than expressing yourself to others, but achieve. This is what you're used to. This is what you're good at. This is what you know how to do. So you continue with achievement versus expression. You might lead others. You lead yourself, you lead others rather than leaning into the people around you. Okay. So, and nobody questions it. Nobody around you is questioning it because that's just how they know you to be, right? Because from the outside, you look completely fine. You look more than fine, very capable and very competent, right? So what's the turning point? The turning point about loneliness is that it doesn't come from being alone. It comes from not being known. And that's what hurts inside of us. Is you're not known. You're not known to the people around you. It's not about not more people and more activity. Really, it's about you showing and expressing more truth, more visibility, right? More emotional risk. And that's what I was talking about with the workplace, but it done well. Let's do it well. Okay. So how do you be more known to people without being awkward or inappropriate? we're getting into the workplace.
That can be a challenge.
Right. Okay. So so we're going to address that hesitation, right? Because, the second that people hear like me say, like, be more open, they're like, hell no, Ann, I'm not about to overshare at work. That's weird. And we all like a little bit. We think about that was okay. Cause we've seen situations and we've seen memes and we've heard conversations with people like, okay, that was an overshare. Right. No, good. You shouldn't be oversharing at work. Awkward. Yes, awkward. Yeah. Inappropriate. Yes, inappropriate. This is not emotional dumping. I would never tell you to emotionally dump on people at work. Yeah, that's a boundary issue as well, right? But it's calibrated honesty. That's what I'm talking to you about. Calibrate your honesty with others, right? So the goal is, yes, it's having connection with boundaries. Not exposing yourself, okay? And here's the rule. Read the room. You all have heard that phrase before. Read the room. You don't share everything. You share something real that's happening in your life, but you need to regulate it, okay? So instead of saying the fake, especially when people know you're not fine. I'm fine. Like, okay, right. I mean, you can say something like, okay, it's been a full week. I'm managing it, but I'm definitely feeling it this week. So there you go. You're regulating it. You're being appropriate. You're reading the room. Someone says, hey, how you doing? Maybe before you sit down to a staff meeting or all staff meeting or to, I don't know, some weekly report meeting or something that somebody's doing a pitch and you're all going to the pitch meeting. It's fine. You get there a few minutes early with your coffee and the person says, hey, how you doing? How's it going? You can say something like, it's been a full week. I'm managing it, but I'm definitely feeling it this week. That's relatable. We all can go, I would sit next to you. Yeah, I know. Been there, right? Like, well, I'm not going to touch the person or no, like, but been there. That makes you relatable. It makes you real without giving yourself away. Yeah. Because I don't know you real well. I like you. You're in that cubicle. You're on that floor.
I know you enough.
But I don't really know you. Yeah. That's appropriate. Yeah. And that can be a little bit of a doorway into he or she or they're a real person, right? That's honest and it's professional. Yeah. So I wanted to say that because I knew from earlier today in this episode, you want to talk about it. Does that help that a little bit?
I mean, yes, it does.
Okay, so I want you to think of it this way. This was told to me many years ago. Many years ago. I still think of this when I talk about actually my own vulnerability, and because I'm writing a book right now, and it's actually been told to me, actually not even from the therapeutic space. I've had coaches say this to me, different coaches, a writing coach who said this to me 6 months ago. I mean, I've heard this. I've had people from different writing groups I've been in from different walks of life, and they've all said this, that you don't share from the wound, you share from the scar. So it's different for me as a writer. But take it as you're watching, you're listening to this right now, take it in the context of your life. So you don't share from your wounds. So we talk about moving out of loneliness, share from the scar, okay? So even if right now you're still, let's say you're going to work today or you're meeting some new people. Maybe you're going to a pickleball group and you're playing and then you're like shooting maybe you go all going out for dinner after. Even if you're still emotionally activated about something that's happening in your life, you're not ready. Remember that. You're not ready to maybe share about it. So I would tell you this. If you're emotionally activated, let's say you're going through a divorce, at the beginning stages of going through a divorce, but you've got this pickleball group you're going to, and then you love that because it's your outlet. You're going out and you're getting physical and you're going to play. It's competition. Then you're going out to dinner after. Remember you're emotionally activated and be careful that you're not going to, air quotes, spill out on the people around you. You're not ready to really talk about it. But if you can talk about something calmly where you can regulate yourself, you're regulated enough to talk about something calmly that's happening, that's where connection lies. Okay, so don't speak. And I have made this mistake. I made this mistake many years ago when I was going through a divorce. And I actually turned people off and I turned people away. I was highly activated. I was spilling out on a couple of people. One was a therapist and she stopped being friends with me. I lost that friendship. That's fine. I mean, I was really hurt at the time. I was surprised because she was a therapist, but therapists are humans too. And this is the thing about therapists. I mean, they're not always the better people in your personal life. I mean, they're just people too. She just completely got rid of me as a friend because I was not regulated. And I was in therapy twice a week. I mean, I was a mess. I was a mess at that time, dealing with a clinical depression. I mean, I was a hot mess. And I think I thought because she's a therapist and we used to work together that she could tolerate my distress and my agitation. She couldn't, or she didn't want to, because she had a very busy practice at that time. And I knew the types of people she was seeing. She had a hard practice, hard clientele. She had no time for me. On me, I wasn't coming to her from a regulated place. And I was not coming from a place of having been healed. I didn't have any scars. I had open wounds. And I was sort of like pouring them out on her.
Yeah.
And another person I did this with too. And they just kind of like walked away from me. Did it hurt? Yeah, it hurt. Are we friends now? No, we're not friends now. And I think people are meant, like we say, there are people that come into your life. There's a season and there's a reason. And there's a people who come for life. They were a season. And that's fine.
Yeah.
They were in for a reason, then they were gone. They were there for a season.
Right.
Okay. But when you can talk about something now calmly, that's where the connection is. Remember to try to be careful of your open wounds. You can speak from the place of your scars. Be careful of your open wounds. If you've got open wounds, that's you. You need to go to a therapist. If you're going through a divorce, some of you can have coaching around that. Some of you need to be in therapy. If you've got old wounds coming up, if you've got trauma coming up, you got to go to therapy. Go see a therapist. Your friends, they don't want to hear it because you don't have a scar. You got these open wounds and you're spilling out on everybody in your personal life. You can, like I did, unwittingly ruin friendships. People don't want to hear it ad nauseum because people have their own stuff going on.
Sure.
So I want you to find that fine line of connection with people, but don't use your friends as your therapists. They don't want to be your therapist and they don't want to coach you up. They don't want to do that.
Well, it's not their job.
It's not their job to do it.
And probably not their specialty either, right?
And so this is the segue into, if you do need a therapist, you're in Illinois, you need a therapist. If you want coaching, if you need coaching, this is your call to action to put money aside and pay for coaching. I had a conversation with someone last week who's also a coach, a totally different type of coach than me, a parenting coach. And she said to me, oh, Anna, she goes, and we talked about this because years and years ago, 25 years ago, when I first started out, 25, 30 years ago, and all I did was see teenagers when I did a specialty in eating disorders. And we're both talking about this because now she's a parent coach. And she said, people will pay you any kind of money because it's their child. They want their child to get better, to sleep through the night, to deal with all their sleep insomnia issues, older kids too, and any kind of, especially with an eating disorder, which can be for certain of the disorders life-threatening, they'll pay you any kind of money. And she goes, Anna, all my moms need to see you. All my moms need coaching with you, but they won't pay for it because they don't think they're worth it. And so if that is you, I'm telling you to put money into yourself. It will make you a better person. Not just a better mom, not just a better spouse if you're married, not just a better single mom, not just a better worker. It's going to make you a better person because of what you are doing for yourself. The transformation that you will receive after working with me, the gift you're giving yourself, pays in dividends in your whole life. I told you last week I had that client who just said to me, you have no idea how much you've helped me. Because you're helping my family, because I'm taking all the skills you've taught me and I'm sharing it with my spouse and my kids. We are all learning from you, Anna.
Yeah.
So I want to share that. Take the time, get on a discovery call with me. Let's work together. You have no idea. This podcast, I'm not your coach. I'm not your therapist. This is general psychoeducation, generalized coaching. When we work together for you, it's game changing. And I can say that I've been doing this long enough and I have enough of, and I know the work I'm doing because I often say to myself, I wish I had me. I want me.
I wish I could talk to me.
Because I'm really good at what I do.
Yeah.
And I put so much into you.
Sure.
Like I want me.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that is you, this is your wake up call. This is your call to action. Go into the show notes, click on that link and get on a call with me. Get on my schedule. Let's talk. Okay. All right. Something you wanted to say about what I was saying
good.
earlier?
I'm good.
Okay. So here's a structure. Here's a structure I want you to use when thinking about loneliness and moving out of loneliness. I want you to name it. I want you to contain it. Then you want you to redirect it. Okay. So here's an example. I've got a lot going on this week. So I'm being really intentional about where I'm going to put my energy. Okay. That is you being known to people. I want you to name it, contain it, redirect it, go back and write this down. The example is, let's say it's something with work. and you're saying this to somebody. Let's go back to the example of sitting down before this all staff meeting. Hey, how are you doing? What's going on? How are you doing? I've got a lot going on this week. So I'm being really intentional about where I'm going to put my energy. Maybe you're saying that about like, you're not going to sign up to take on that other project, and people know, okay, they have a lot going on. Yeah. You're letting yourself be known in a safe way. Okay. But it's being known, right? Without being inappropriate, without being awkward, and without losing your credibility as a person that you are, as a professional that you are in the workplace. Okay.
Yeah. I think we all know that person. Yes, like I'll do that, like to the point of like self-implosion. And that's a fine line because there's pride involved.
Yeah.
There's the fear of looking like you're not able, right?
And you must pay attention to what is coming up for you on the inside. You must pay attention to that. It's imperative.
Yeah.
We don't want you to implode. We don't want that to happen.
Right.
Because that's also burnout. That's just high stress. That's not being managed well. That's not being managed. Or maybe you're managing by over drinking and, doing all the things, over drugging, whatever it is you're doing, looking at too much social media, watching way too much, streaming shows. It could be porn. It could be too much gaming. It can be a lot of ways that we're coping, but we call it maladaptive coping mechanisms, right? We don't want that for you. I don't want that for you. That's lonely.
Yeah.
See, all that I just said, that's such loneliness because you're living in your head and you're coping by yourself.
Yeah.
We want you to move out of that. Okay. So go ahead.
Well, that person, I'm thinking of that person at work that we all know. I mean, you've worked with people like this. Same. I have also like that they take on. I think they have put themselves in a spot where they're so busy. They're so occupied.
Yeah.
Right. And they put themselves, maybe unintentionally, but they put themselves on an actual pedestal also because they now know that everybody sees them as this person.
That's exactly what this episode's about.
Yeah. And I don't think sometimes they don't think about like, hang on a second, because I'm so busy, I never have moments of just being real. Right. I never have moments of just, it's all very surfacey.
And by the time they come to me, there's some sort of pain. By the time they come to me, which I want you to come to me before you get to this place. Come to me, reach out to me before you get into this place. This is psychic pain. Something is really not, some things are falling apart or they're just on the inside imploding, like you said, or their mental health is struggling. I'm the person who comes into their life and taps them on their shoulder and says, hey, take a look at this.
Yeah.
Take a look at this. Okay, we're looking. And that's why I say coaching is so wonderful because we go beyond insight. But first we're going to take a look at what's happening in your life. Let's look at we did an episode on patterns. Mm-hmm. Look at the patterns. Okay, let's get the insight. Okay, we've got the insight. Now what are we going to do about it?
Sure.
How are we going to take action? How am I going to help you? And you're going to help yourself take action in work. You're going to change it. And I'm going to hold you accountable to it. That's what's so great about coaching.
Yeah.
I'm holding you accountable. We have all the insight. We've got a plan together. Now you're going to change it. And I'm going to be there tapping you on the shoulder. Did you do it? Why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
Oh, you did it. Wonderful. Great. Now what's next?
Yeah.
And that's where people make changes in their lives. They stop. They get off that pedestal because that person who's on that pedestal is exhausted.
Sure.
And they didn't even know to know it.
Yeah. And I think that's where you need some wisdom, somebody on staff to have the wisdom to be able to understand the concept.
You hope
right?
There's someone
somebody in HR should take it upon themselves to be, we all know, we won't go there with HR, but there should be somebody.
Not all HR departments.
Not all of them, but somebody in that bubble of HR, risk management.
Tim, I think people are so freaking busy in small businesses and large businesses. I've seen this.
That's an excuse.
It's an excuse. It is an excuse.
Yes.
And it's happening.
Yeah.
People don't have the time and they say, this is not, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I don't have the time or the place. You need, go take care of that on your own time.
Yeah.
And companies are changing around to the understanding the importance of mental health. That is happening. That is in the zeitgeist right now.
Slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so what's the rinse and repeat that happens then? The person is allowed to continue to do this, right? Because nobody on the staff is got the resources or takes time to study or whatever it is, or is a semi-coach to it. And that person then gets fried and they quit and they leave. And then someone else
and you lost a great employee.
You lost a great person.
That's what happens.
You lost a great person.
And you lost a great worker.
And then you do it again. And then you do it again. And then you do it in a different department versus looking at the root of it.
Yeah.
Right. And like, hey, have a little bit of insight for a second. Right.
Yeah.
Like think about the betterment of the actual entity.
Well, if you're a CEO, if you're a VP of a department, you're listening to this, reach out. I can help you with this.
Yeah.
I will help you with this. Okay, let's go into the power moves. All right, your number one power move. I want you to replace air quote, I'm fine with one real sentence. Stop saying you're fine. Okay, I'm fine. Stop saying you're fine. Say something honest, but contained. We talked about how to do this in a contained way. And say something honest, okay? Your next power move, use the 1, 2, 3 method that I just gave you. Name it, contain it, redirect it. Number 3, I want you to share from the scar, not the wound. I want you to share from the scar, not the open wound that's still going on. If you've got an open wound, don't share that, especially at work. I'm not talking so much about your personal life with that one. And I gave you the example of my divorce many, many years ago and how that was my personal life and I turned people away from me. Okay. If you have an open wound, if you've got there's something that's like seeping and bleeding, you've got to go to therapy. Okay. Depending on what your issues are, you've got to seek professional help around that. Okay. I'm telling you, nobody really wants to hear it. And you will have people in your life who are wonderful and compassionate, and they'll hear it to a point, and then they will get to a point where they don't want to hear it anymore. Okay. Remember, these people are not your therapists, and it's not these people's job to coach you up. All right. That's my job. It's my job to coach you up. Okay. So if it's still emotionally charged for you, it's not ready for prime time. It's not ready for people, especially at work. Okay. Yeah. But also watch it with your friends. Okay. And your acquaintances. Next power move. I want you to choose one person for real depth in your life. So this is a nice segue from the last one to this one. And choose one person in your life for real depth, right? Remember, not everybody earns access to you. So I love this. Not everybody learns that access to you. All right. So pick someone that you feel safe with, who you can go deeper with. Those 2 friends who blew me off and got rid of me as a friend, I overshared. I was coming from a place from a deep wound and I was totally overexposing myself. They couldn't handle it, didn't want to handle it. Don't blame them.
Yeah.
And I had wonderful people in my life who were there for me, who I could go there with.
Yeah.
They were wonderful. Sure. I had siblings, and I had one really great friend at that time who was completely available to me, and I'm indebted to her because she was just wonderful. And she really kind of I was in therapy twice a week at that time, and thank God I had that, because I don't know what I would have been like if I didn't have my therapist who saved my life. And she also was wonderful and would let me talk and just listened. She was just a wonderful, wonderful shoulder to lean on. Okay. So not everybody earns access to you. And I love that because it's self-empowering. Remember who you are, people. Remember who you are. Remember that not everybody gets to hear your story. Maybe they don't want to hear it. Who cares? Not everybody gets access to you. You choose who you share your personal stuff with. Okay.
Yeah.
And next, I want you to reduce your overfunctioning by 10%. Okay. Because you are the competent people. You are the high achievers. And remember, when I say high achievers, that's pretty much all of you. This is not based on education. This is not based on how much money you make. I have people from all walks of life who are high achievers, actually, or overachievers. And these are people who they're not even making 6 figures. They're overachievers. They're high functioning. Okay. I don't care about that. This is not about a dollar.
It's based off of effort, right?
That's
what you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's based on your attitude.
Sure.
But I want you to reduce your overfunctioning by 10%. Okay. I want you to let other people show up. I want you to let other people help. Okay. I want you to let other people meet you. Okay. Meet you where you're at and show up and do the thing. I want you to just 10%. Okay. I know it may feel like a lot for some of you, but I want you to reduce your overfunctioning. All right.
And that's hard. I mean, it might be hard for somebody to define 10%, right? Like what would be another way?
Well, take one thing off your plate.
One thing. How about there you go?
Take one thing off your plate.
That's easy to understand.
Okay. Yeah. Don't be the first to raise your hand to say you'll do this or that.
There you go.
Maybe don't be the person to host dinner, next month. Maybe because you always do it. Okay. Think of your life and think about where you might be overfunctioning and just take a step back from it. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you drop everything off. No, it's just one thing off your plate. You got 9 other things on your plate you're still doing.
Yeah.
Right? Just take one thing off.
Yeah.
And I want you to create one real life connection every week. So this is what we talk with social media and all the gaming and all the stuff that the streaming. I want one real life connection, not texting and not scrolling on your phone, right? Voice, face to face, voice to voice.
This was going to be mine. Yeah. That was going to be my power move. I agree with you.
You have to do this.
Yeah. So think about your example of like the people in your apartment building or the people in your neighborhood. Like, I think all of us can go out this week and we can either start or rekindle one relationship, right? Like, just like make one reach out, be that person that reaches out versus waiting for someone else to, just one time.
Yeah. If you're volunteering, maybe make a recommendation. Why don't we all go out for lunch after?
Sure.
Yeah. Or go with one person. Yeah. Okay. So, in closing for this episode if you are the competent one, here's your work. Stop being impressive. Stop being impressive to everyone around you. Start being known. All right. Because the connections that you want, it doesn't come from holding it all together, right? It comes from letting yourself be seen at the right level, in the right rooms with the right people. So measure it. Pay attention. Like we just said, you're not going to overshare certain places, but with the right people in the right rooms at the right level. Okay. So you don't build connection by telling everyone everything. We're not talking about, that's not going to move you out of loneliness. Actually, it's going to maybe increase your loneliness. You don't build connection by spilling out and overexposing yourself. Right. You build connection by telling the truth without with judgment. Watch yourself a little bit, watch your boundaries, and with courage. Okay. I hope that's helpful, right? Because we need to still talk about loneliness and how to move out of it, because it's still an issue today. And this one is about how I see it with all kinds of people in their lives. You would have no idea the people who are lonely, because they ain't going to tell you.
Yeah.
But I know it because I see it in my office.
Right.
All right. So this is how you make some changes, everyone. Okay. Hope that this is helpful. Once again, 5 stars, please, please, please. We so appreciate you taking the time to do this too. It means the world to us as we're trying to move up the ranks and have the podcast be known to more people globally. All right. Mad love. And until next time.
All right.
Bye.